presidential primaries. But do you think that some of that will help by sort of smoothing out people coming and having more time?
I do. I think the model of voting that we envision in the future, and we've done considerable research on this, and there's actually legislation pending in Sacramento. I will go at the end of this month to testify on a bill that helps move that as a local option. So that will come back here to this board when and if we decide to move that direction in LA. That model is based on moving away from individual single polling places, so you as a voter only have one option of where to go to vote on election day in your neighborhood, to a vote center environment that would allow you to go to one of several hundred locations located throughout the county in a 10-day period. And those locations would increase in number leading up to election day. So 10 days out before the election, there may be, I'm just throwing these numbers out now because they're still working on the formulas, but there may be 400 locations. But as we get to the weekend before the election, that would increase to maybe 600 or 700 locations that would be available all the way through election day. You as a voter could go to any one of those locations. All of those locations would have real-time access to the voter file. And in fact, in California, the law is already on the books that once that's in place, we will also have same-day voter registration. So if there is any question about your party choice or the address you're registered to vote at, you could change that on site at the time of voting and have that updated on a real-time basis. And we would know that you voted in place A, so if you showed up in place B, we wouldn't let you vote again. That process, augmented with vote by mail, I believe simplifies the process, increases access, and responds to the manner in which our electorate functions on a regular basis. It gives them options and choices that the current system doesn't. And certainly for poll workers and election administrators, it eliminates a lot of these manual processes that are just subject to human error.
I think it also behooves us to think about for 2020 that every presidential primary and presidential general, we could have a repeat of what has happened. As a matter of fact, we want to, in a way, in terms of a lot of people signing up to vote.
Absolutely.
I think it's very important for people to sign up to vote. But as you pointed out, and as I saw even in my own area, and people, emailing me like, what do I do? A lot of people don't really know it. They sign up to vote, they've not voted before, a lot of young voters, and they don't feel that they were really told sufficiently what it would mean. For instance, if they signed up and they got a ballot by mail, that they were supposed to bring it with them if they decided not to mail it in. I don't read everything that comes on my electricity bill, and they always say, well, we told you, But I think it's going to have to be the case that we somehow, big print and red print, some of those important things for the voter, because just taking into account, people do not pay attention when something is not known to them. They need to be told it. I mean, when you send out a campaign mailer, you do it 5 times because they tell you nobody's going to even remember your name unless you send them 5 things. And I have to apologize to the people who remembered the first time because they hate getting all that paper. But I think it is important that we continue to emphasize, and really early on, if you register by mail and then don't vote by mail, bring it with you.
I agree with that. That is, by the way, that is another function that in the vote center environment that would go away, because we would be able to in real time suspend that vote by mail ballot, so you wouldn't have to have it with you.
So
but I completely...
You would invalidate the vote by mail ballot that hadn't come in yet.
Correct.
And then people could vote with a regular ballot.
Exactly, yeah. And I just want to comment that I share your view. I think that if you step back and look at the way the primary system works, it was not designed with voters in mind. It was designed around the function of nominating under party rules. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's very confusing for voters, and those rules change every 4 years. So we have not had the same kind of primary in California consistently over 2 periods of time for decades. So those rules do change, and
I think we're going to have to do something about this independent part of the issue. I mean, people really believe they're independent, and they're registered. people actually should know when they register for a party, but okay. But I understand people think I'm an independent, I'll register independent. I don't know what that party thing means. Maybe we'll make it clearer, although, you know, if you make something clearer, I have to say, I don't think it was our fault that there was an independent party on the ballot, and it was very confusing. It didn't even occur to me that people would register with that party rather than no political preference or decline to state or something. But, you know, sometimes we have to think about what will occur to people, and I certainly agree with the people in the audience about that. I want to take positive initial steps for the next time and the next time and the next time. And I don't even know what, you know, I always think we should hire, I guess now they're called hacktivists, but somebody who will go through and go, here's everything that I could possibly do wrong, given this ballot, in terms of what I'm thinking. And then, you know, see if we can avoid it.
I will say that Dean Logan and his folks have, I think, done a really good job, because as soon as we got media attention that there were some issues, I know he stepped up and did a lot of, I don't know how many interviews he did and being out there. Certainly, we've learned a lot, and I tend to agree that the more information we can have ahead of time, because we got a lot of calls as well regarding confusion about having to carry an absentee ballot in so that you could vote. There were a lot of people that left that on the counter or cleaned up their kitchen, you know, counter, and they don't know where they put it. That was a problem, I'm sure. But more importantly, the designation as an independent vote, I agree. American independent is not the same as an independent, and that obviously has to be cleared up before we go through this again. If we can, we're going to see this happen in the next 4 years. But again, I appreciate and applaud what you're doing. I think all of us are learning so much about this process, and what I am really excited about is that so many people wanted to exercise their right, and we've got to make that comfortable and plausible for them. And I like the idea that we're moving towards an area where people can just go to a center and be able to do that. I remember a while back we had some test pilot programs. I know at West Covina Library they had a system in place, so even though it was a couple of miles from me, I could still go there and vote right there and not have to worry about paper or anything. And if it was convenient, it worked. So just thinking outside of the box again, and ramping that up as we get closer to the date we vote would be incredible. So again, thank you. I know we have. Are there any questions? We have over 50 speakers, so this item, while it's very important, we're going to allow people to speak for 1 minute. So I'm just going to call names up, and people can line up, and we'll do them in groups of 4, okay? And then we'll go from there. And our staff did try to speak to folks that wanted to speak on the issues, see if there was any lead group or individuals that wanted to kind of speak longer to represent more folks, but I guess that didn't present itself, so we tried. Okay, with that, so let's go ahead and we'll start with the first 4 or 5 speakers. Suzanne O'Keefe, Carlos Marroquin,